Long before the flags of Britain pierced the soil, before the railways, treaties, and taxes, Yoruba land was torn, not by strangers, but by her own sons. This is the story of the longest civil war in West Africa, a war that shook empires, defied kings, and echoed like thunder across generations. Out of the ashes of Oyo, Ibadan rose, a city carved by warriors, ruled by generals, with no king, only commanders. Their power was unmatched. They crushed Ijaye, they humiliated Owu, and they forced towns across the south to pay tribute or perish. To the east, in Ekiti, Ijesha, Akoko, and Igbomina, people groaned. Ibadan's tax collectors grew greedy, their messengers arrogant, their soldiers cruel. Young boys were taken for war, crops were seized, women were humiliated, and yet silence reigned until one man rose in the town of Okemisi. A warrior named Fabunmi watched. He was young but fierce, and when an Ibadan official struck a sacred woman during a wedding feast, Fabunmi drew his blade. He killed the messenger. He called his warriors and lit the fire of rebellion. The call spread from Okemisi to Ilisa, from Akko to Ondo. Yoruba towns answered. They formed a sacred alliance, the Ekiti-Parapo, a confederacy of resistance. They swore never again would Ibadan dominate their lands, and at the head of this force came Ogedengbe, Agbogumboro, general of Ilesa, warrior of iron. He wore charms around his chest and lightning in his eyes. With Fabunmi and other chiefs, they prepared for a war they could not afford to lose. A war camp was built in Imesi-ile, larger than any ever seen in Yoruba history. Women pounded yam for thousands. Blacksmiths sharpened blades from morning till dusk. Ifa priests chanted by firelight. This was no rebellion. This was revolution. Then came the sound that gave the war its name. Not from drums, but from guns. Huge cannons roared across the hills. They called it Kiriji, the sound of thunder. Ibadan's warriors had never faced such firepower. The land itself seemed to scream in protest. What began in 1877 stretched into 16 brutal years. Ibadan could not win. Ekiti-Parapo would not break. Towns were burned, rivers ran red, alliances shifted, and countless sons never returned home. Behind the spears stood the women. They carried food, tended wounds, buried the dead. Some were priestesses, some were warriors. All were the soul of resistance. In every camp, gods were called. Sango for thunder, Ogun for iron, Ifa for guidance. It was said that even the spirits watched the war unfold, with sorrow and awe. But as Yoruba fought Yoruba, another power rose quietly. The British, watching from Lagos, smiled. Chaos gave them reason to offer peace and demand control. They sent missionaries and mediators, but carried muskets in their ships. In 1886, the leaders met. Ogedengbe, Latoosa, and white men with ink and documents. A treaty was signed. The war ended, but the land was no longer free. Ibadan was weakened. Ekiti-Parapo was drained. Thousands had died. No side truly won. But one truth remained. The Yoruba had fought for their voice, and the world had listened. Today, the land where thunder once roared lies quiet, but in the silence, you can still hear echoes of defiance, of sacrifice, of a people who refuse to bow. They call it the Kiriji War, We call it a lesson written in blood and thunder. The Kiriji War was not just a battle. It was a struggle for identity, freedom, and memory. Subscribe for more epic African stories at Epic Afri Tales.